Good morning and happy Tuesday, Taco Tuesday. So got up this morning, I was going to make myself some nice breakfast tacos and I'm out of tortillas. Pinche! Well, it's not that bad. See, I can make my own. I can make tortillas, but actually I'm going to make some fry bread, Indian fry bread as it's called, also called squaw bread, and sometimes called by the different tribes names, like Navajo fry bread, uh, Cherokee fry bread. It's called kanuchi. They call it kanuchi. Navajo fry bread. It's called dil dinilagash. Apache. I can't remember. Taco Bell. They call it chalupa. So that's what we're going to make today. We're going to make Indian fry bread. Flour's a little messy, so we're just going to put this on. But I'm going to make just one piece of fry bread here. It's going to be a big one. It'll last a couple of days. But you make smaller ones. But the recipe is pretty basic. So let's get to it. There are a lot of variations, regional variations, even different parts of the reservation would have a little different variations on it. For example, powdered milk, you see it in some recipes and not in others. We're not going to have that. We're going to make it with the simplest ingredients possible, the smallest number of ingredients. So we've got your basic flour here, all-purpose flour, and I'm going to put a 1/2, I had to check, put half a cup of flour into a nice bowl here, and it's flour, so I'm not going to be too careful, but I'm going to keep a little on the side. To the 1/2 cup flour, you will add a 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. That I do measure. When it comes to baking powder, there's a big difference between half a teaspoon and a full teaspoon. Salt, not that bad. If you're okay at guesstimating, you could just pour a little out. That's about half a teaspoon, and that'll be more than enough. Okay, so there we got all the dry ingredients in there, and I'm going to mix them up separately with a little whisk here, just to get all the salt and especially the baking powder nicely incorporated. It doesn't take a lot. But it does take a little. Okay, now we're going to put a little depression into the middle of it. And in goes water. Like I mentioned, powdered milk. Some recipes call for milk, other ones call for hot water and powdered milk. Same thing. Ours is just hot water. So this is hot water. We've nuked it in the microwave. Of course, the campfire, you just pour it out of your hot water kettle. But anyway, I've got a cup here, but I'm not going to pour it all in. I'm actually only going to put in about a third of a cup of water. About a third of a cup of water to start. So we've got half a cup of flour, half a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of baking powder. And we're already getting flour on my flannel. And okay, I'm just pushing it together right now with my spatula, pulling the dough away from the sides, and that's enough for the spatula. You got to get in there with your hand. 5-finger chopsticks, they call it in Chinese cooking. But see, I'm pulling it away from the walls of the bowl, twisting it around, absorbing all the leftover flour. And kind of folding it around a little bit. When you get the moist parts exposed, you just shove them over to where the flour is still lying around in the bowl until, there we go, get all the flour done. Now I go over here, gathering all the little flakes, get it flaky, or the technical term is shaggy in baking. Get it shaggy, and again here I'm kind of turning it in my hands a little bit, and I put a little flour aside. I don't know if you notice, I left it in the spoon there just to drop it on there, and just a little to keep my hands from getting sticky. And we'll clean up the flour later. I usually do all this. I use a really big bowl, but all right. So that's about right. Now it feels pretty lumpy, so again, a little more flour, not much, just a little. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're just doing this. 9, 10, 11. It's going to be a lumpy one. And 12. Okay, just 12 times. I got a little ball here, about the size of a racquetball. And then you work it around while all your little wrinkles from the folds are on the bottom. And now back in the bowl or someplace else, and set it aside for at least 20 minutes. And it's not going to rise at all. No yeast in it. It's not going to rise, just the, I don't know, it's just going to coagulate a little bit or something. I don't know technically what it does, but it does, I don't know. It just rests and gets ready to be fried. So you can set that aside for at least 20 minutes. And while you're doing that, you can do other stuff, like turn on your, it wouldn't take 20 minutes to heat up. But you can get your frying pan going in that period of time. But anyway, we're not gonna wait 20 minutes. We'll just put that on the ground, because yesterday, ahead of time, 20 minutes ago plus, we I had some for breakfast yesterday and made a little extra dough here. So here we are. And it's nice and rubbery. It's just perfect. I'm going to get a little more flour on my hands. Now you could roll it around with a stick, but that's really how you make a tortilla. You get the edges too thin for a proper chalupa. The traditional way to do this is to do it with your hands. You kind of squeeze it out a little bit, and then you start flattening back and forth. Same principle as a pizza. You're stretching out the dough here. Pinching and stretching, pinching and stretching. It's kind of fun. We're stretching, we're pinching, we're stretching, you're pinching. Okay, like I said, it was Native American. Cherokee, they're from the Oklahoma area, Navajo, Four Corners, Southwestern area, the Plains, and Apache, same area, a little bit in between the two. And yeah, that's fry bread, Indian fry bread, and it's very similar to bannock bread. Bannock bread, Scottish fur traders brought the formula over. Native Americans who were not used to cooking with flour and took to it right away and started making bannock bread. And my mother, who is from Iowa, she was adopted and initiated Iroquois, or as you would say, Iroquois. And she didn't make fry bread. She was from the northern area. She made bannock bread, and I'll show you how to make that if you're interested. In the meantime, this is about ready. You just kind of like a small little pizza, stretching it out and stretch and pinch, and this is about right. See, I'm looking up, and you can see the light. When you can see the light through it, you're getting it thin enough, and actually, you want to have a little tear here in the middle, a tiny little hole. You'll poke it in there if there isn't one, because it'll bubble up in the hot oil. The oil just popped, letting me know it's ready. Gotta listen to your kitchen. All right. Now the way they put it in, they lean it towards themselves. So I always stand well back. In it goes. Okay. And okay, see it fit in there nicely. And I'm going to put a hole in there. This is bacon fat. I had leftover from making a bunch of bacon. You can fry it in butter. You can fry it in any kind of margarine or vegetable oil, or pig lard. Pig lard was actually the traditional one. We're not going to be that traditional, but we are using bacon fat. So yeah, it's bacon fat, so it's not kosher, and it's not vegan, and we used wheat, so it's not keto either. It's traditional formula, nothing modern about it. We're going to put it back on the heat there, cool it down. It should be bubbling and everything. It's not. It might turn out to be a little soggy because it took it off the heat there. Because this will not take long at all if the heat is hot enough. It's just a little bit on either side. It should be browning already. It's not. Like the last time I cooked for you, I didn't have the temperature quite right, so it might not come out quite right. Don't take it off like that. Keep the oil nice and hot the whole time. Put it in there, fry it, then take it out. I use about a tablespoon, maybe a little bit more, of the bacon fat. It doesn't have to float in there, just enough so it doesn't stick to the bottom of the pan. I'm using a pan that has a completely flat bottom and straight sides. And you can have a longer handle. Handle gets a little hot, but I want you to see this. We're going to turn it. Yeah. All right. And turn it this way. And see, it's getting nicely browned on that side. It's a little on the thick side. I could have thinned it out a little bit more. Like any artist. Let me tell you all the things that are wrong with it. Okay. Okay, not ready yet, but you can see, maybe, you can see it's browning up a little bit more on that side. Not enough. Yeah, this was turning out a little too thick. Will absorb some of the oil, but they don't get really greasy like fast food cheeseburgers or something. They you don't have it floating in the oil. Okay, let's take a look at it. Oh, that looks good. There we go. There you go. See, like you're just about to the point of being scorched, and now we'll drop it. I'll drop it on a paper towel. And you see the paper towel's not that bad. And you know, it's not really dripping or anything. It's just fine. And now, while it's warm like this, it's nice and pliable, and you can. Ooh, it's a little hot for this, but you see, you can make yourself an excellent taco like that out of your Navajo fry bread. Ow. Okay, we're going to let that cool and toss some chopped up tomatoes in there, some scrambled eggs, bacon, and a little bit of hash browns, and no lettuce, but cheddar cheese, and that'll be breakfast. So, bon appetit.